Hello, we've got Danielle Stankiewicz here from IFPG. Thank you for joining me today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much, Lindsay, for having me. How are
Yeah,
you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, no, my pleasure. I'm really glad that we had some time to chat today. As you know, I've got some questions just about you and your, business and how things are going. So let's just dive into it. So yeah, why don't you just start by telling me a little bit about your background and what has inspired you to become a franchise consultant?
Yes, thank you. Well, thank you again for having me
Yeah.
today. And so I didn't come from a background in the franchise industry. I've had quite a varied career and background prior to starting in the franchise space. So to give you a sense, I mean, collegiate background, my degrees are in religion, sociology, and then I have a master's in psychology.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, yeah, so education, teaching, and people, these are things that I love. And so I started off early in my career. I started teaching. I was teaching in private schools, preschools, elementary schools. The bureaucracy of the school system just wasn't a great fit for me. And ended up instead transitioning to working more in private homes. I was doing international governance work for a long time, and then essentially just working for families as a private nanny. So celebrity nanny, did that for many years.
Oh, so cool.
Um, yes, oh gosh, almost 20 years. Before in 2018, I decided that it was time to pursue something else, and so I pursued entrepreneurship now 7 years ago. And so I can certainly relate to my clients when they're walking away from a six-figure salary or paycheck. It's scary.
Mm.
I did it myself, and it was not easy. But if anything, if I could go back, I would tell myself, do it sooner.
Yeah.
Do it sooner. And so that led me to doing just more contract based work. And I got into real estate development, home flipping for a period of time. And then in 2021, I was introduced to the owner here at Horizon Consulting Partners, which is the consulting firm that I'm a part of. So the owner's name is Chris Valdez. And I got introduced to him by my father. And they had just had a random connection on the phone. And he said, you know what? You should talk to my daughter. She's looking for new opportunities. And Chris presented an opportunity to me I not only had never considered, but never heard of. And, really knew nothing about what I do now, about franchise consulting. Again, had a big background in education, but not so much educating adults. And the rest is really history. And that's where, although yes, I'm not teaching kids anymore, I do still love that educating aspect, which is what, I get to continue to do.
Yeah, that's excellent. Wow, that's quite the background, from where you've come from to where you are now. But it seems very exciting. You've got to do a lot of really interesting things, especially the celebrity nanny. I have to ask you about that.
I know, not as glamorous as it seems. Yeah, it's a tremendous amount of work, and but yeah, I mean, ultimately, it was time to move
Move on.
on. Yeah.
Yeah, well, here you are. Good. So when you are working with clients, what is your process for understanding their goals, skills, and even financial needs before recommending any franchise options?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we have a rather streamlined and just very simple process at Horizon Consulting. So we'll have what's called an introductory call with our clients, and on average, it's about 30 minutes long. And this is where I like to just make sure that they have a very broad understanding of
Mhm.
the franchise industry in general and what this means, what they're about to get into. I explain the mutual discovery process or evaluation process that takes place. Make sure that they understand they're not here to buy a franchise. I'm not here to
Yeah.
sell you one either. It's more about let's discover if this is a route that's going to make sense for you. And so this is where I really get to know them too.
Yeah.
I'll educate them, and then I'll also get to know them and their goals and their background, their interest and motivations, their financials. And then this is where then I will then do, research for them right before presenting them forth any opportunities to consider.
Hmm. Yeah, that's great. Sounds like a good, thorough process anyway. So, now, how would you go about evaluating and vetting franchises before recommending them to a client? Like, what criteria when it comes to that is most important to you?
Yes, yes. Excellent. So not all franchises are the same. As you're well aware, I wish they were, but they aren't. They just aren't. And so this is where we have really exceptional, phenomenal partners that we work with as well. And so we rely heavily on our partners. So we work with a gentleman by the name of Edward Duncan over at First Financial. He's our
Mhm.
SBA funding partner. Also, our franchise attorney, Nancy Lennard at Luther Lennard PC. So we stay really close with them because they help us keep informed as to maybe what brands to not introduce
Yeah.
to our clients. So things I look for, want to see that a brand is in good graces with the SBA, meaning,
Mhm.
their franchisees, they're not defaulting on their SBA loans. And, I also tend to stay away from any brands that have had any prior or current litigation issues. That's where the conversations with Nancy Lennard and her team takes place. And, this type of information too, Lindsay, it can be often hard just for somebody doing a simple Google search online to a lot of
Yeah.
times find this information out. And then that's where we can come in as those experts in this field. And I'd say I also look to, I like to see a brand that has a very healthy, robust amount of franchisees in their system, and that they can connect with and learn from their experience and hear about that, as well as just excellent training and support system.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Not every franchise is good for everybody. So it is good to kind of keep all of that in mind for sure. So, now, what would be an example of a challenging client placement? And how did you go about working through that to find that person a good franchise fit?
So I'd say sometimes people will come to me with a very kind of one track mind, or they're not very open minded, or, they're very determined on this is what I want, or rather, this is what I think I want.
Right.
And so there was one gentleman in particular who thought, he wanted a food establishment. And when I went over with him, talked with him about it, went over the investment levels, he wasn't wanting to look to make a higher
Mhm.
investment cost. And so, then it was more so about, okay, well, let's really pull apart your background and find you something else that's going to be actually a much better fit for you and your family. And ultimately, he ended up in a home healthcare brand and
Oh,
company,
wow.
and he is really happy now. But I'd say for a lot of times, what I see is that honestly, that type of person that comes into this with that kind of personality of
Mhm.
not being open minded, I would say might not be the best fit just to own a franchise. You
Yeah.
have to be able to come in, follow somebody else's proven systems and processes. And it's okay if franchising is not for you, too.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't have said that better myself too. Yeah. It doesn't have to be for everyone, but yeah, you have to be able to follow the system or else it's just not a good sign. It doesn't feel good for anybody. So,
Right.
um, now, how do you tailor your approach for clients with varying financial situations or business backgrounds?
Yes. So it's really two parts. I mean, depending on their financials, SBA is great. It's not end all be all. If they don't qualify for an SBA loan, there's alternate forms of funding. I have seen people fund their businesses in such a variety of creative different ways. There's the 401k rollover program, there's a home equity line of credit, unsecured, secured lines of credit. So it really just depends on them. This is where, again, we come in and help them with that aspect of the process. If maybe their credit is a little bit lower and they want to talk to somebody even that does credit repair, I can make those introductions as well. And then when it comes to just different business backgrounds, that's just where, honestly, just getting to know somebody, I will often just ask them those more probing questions when I'm on the other line with them. And when somebody shares with me something that feels very random, they always say to me, you probably don't need to know this, or blah, blah, blah. And I always say to them, no, it's great, because it's
Yeah.
those little things that you think don't matter
Right.
the most. And they help me to do my job the
Yeah.
best, because it comes down to it being a culture fit as well. You want to fit in with the brand that you're looking at. And so yeah, that's important too.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Now, how about a story of a particular client that did choose the right franchise business for them, and they have found success? Like, how, that's got to feel, you feel proud. Like, how does that make you feel when you are able to help someone fulfill that dream of getting into business for themselves?
Yes, it's exciting. It really is. I've got actually several people just over the course of this year in 2025 that are leaving just very well-paying jobs, and
Mhm.
they're done. They're done with their corporate careers. They want to invest in themselves, and I can relate to that. It is scary, and
Yeah.
just kind of just coaching them through that, and then seeing them to the other side of, okay, you're official, you're launching your business.
Mm.
And then we like to continue to coach and check in with our clients, even after they've started, and
Yeah.
continue to offer business coaching. And so I'd say, instead of just a particular, I mean, there've been a lot, there've been a lot of people. We have a lot of success stories, just with a lot of different types of brands in all different types of industries as well. That are, they're working hard, but they're
Yeah.
building equity for themselves. They're in it. They're in it right now, this moment. They're building their dream for themselves, and it's exciting when you get to see that, and have a small, even if it's just a small part of
Yeah.
that. It's exciting. It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the great thing too, is about keeping in touch and following up with them, a year down the road even, and just to see how things have even bloomed and blossomed since then. So yeah, that would definitely feel very good. For everybody involved, I'm sure.
Yes. Yes.
um, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, no. I was just agreeing. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. So now, what are some of the most misconceptions that clients have about franchising, and then how do you go about like addressing that?
Yeah. We usually will talk about this right at the very beginning, because I often
Mhm.
hear, it tends to be two main points. Either, they only think that just it's food and retail out there, and that's all that exists. And so, well, I don't want to own a fast food establishment. So why
Yep.
would I even look to own a franchise, right? I hear that a lot. Or I'll often hear, there's a barrier to entry when it comes to the financial aspect, looking at an investment cost, again, kind of tying into that, thinking that they need to have, $1 million in the bank, or I need to have $1 million
Right.
net worth, or, I need to have multiple hundreds of thousands in order to invest in a company. And it's not true. And so I think it's talking about it from the very beginning with somebody, because I would say those are just the biggest misconceptions,
Oh yeah.
and it's hard. I mean, it's easy to see, what we see, right, with fast food places, because we drive down the road, we see them
They're
all the time.
everywhere. Yeah.
We could see it, but it's harder. And I understand, somebody maybe not knowing about a virtually based or home based opportunity where they hadn't heard about it before, but it is thriving. It's huge. It's been in operation for many years,
Yeah.
and it's lower cost. And so, yeah, I think we just, talk about it from the very beginning to, again, just help educate them, right, on what's out there.
Yeah, because that would be like first thing on their mind. So it's like, okay, let's just like nip this right here, talk about it. And I think that's the great part of processes like this, is to just like get it out there, like put it out there, talk about it, and then they can kind of see for themselves, like, oh, okay, I really didn't know anything about franchising. So this is great.
Right.
Um, Good. Well, yeah, that's really all I wanted to just chat about today. It's nice to get to know more about you and how you work with clients in your process. Everyone does have such a different way of going about things. Still like slightly similar in some ways, but still it's really interesting to see. So I really appreciate you taking some time to chat with me today, Danielle. So thanks.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much, Lindsay, for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, we'll be in touch and I'll probably chat with you again soon.
Sounds good. Thanks.
So, what has your experience been like, Danielle, working with Schoolie Mitchell, and what is it about Schoolie Mitchell that makes it attractive to some of your clients?
Yes, thank you. Well, I love Schooling Mitchell. I really do. I think it's just such an incredible opportunity. And there's quite a bit that I like about it. My experience, though, has been just extremely positive with the entire corporate staff and then the model itself. What makes it attractive? My goodness, it's been in operation. It was founded many years ago. It was founded in 2004, so been in operation for the past 21 years. And so love to see that there, really withstood the test of time. That's important. The founder, Dennis Schooley, he's still extremely active within the brand. And sometimes we
Mhm.
don't see that so much. And so love to see that also. Really like that it's home base. This is something where, again, extremely attractive to somebody that does not want to have a leased space, or they don't want to have a physical storefront, they don't want to have a lease payment, they don't want to have super high labor requirements. Schooling Mitchell is the antithesis of that. You can work from home, you can have a small home office, and yet you can build this into a huge business as well too, if you want to. They also have the opportunity where their builder franchise program, where you can start in a part-time fashion. And so just absolutely love that, because most companies, it's going to generally increase your investment costs looking to start something part-time. But with Schooling Mitchell, it's built into that. So, if you do want to take your time, go a little bit slower, you can do that and work as a part-time franchisee while maintaining your full-time employment. It's under $100,000 investment cost.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's so huge. So again, it doesn't take this massive amount of money that you have to put down and invest into this. And I just say the model itself being a contingency model, helping other small businesses save money, what you're actually doing at Schooling
Mhm.
Mitchell, I'd say is just really, really appealing to a great number of people. So I really do think it's an incredible option to consider.
Well, that's great. Happy to hear all of that. Very happy, positive stuff. So yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.